cafe on the corner is warm and half asleep. Soft music hums above the quiet espresso machine. I sit near the window where the glass fogs easily, tracing small patterns that vanish when the steam thins. Outside the sky hangs low and colorless over the buildings, a perfectly neutral canvas for whatever mood this day brings. You once said this was your favorite kind of weather, not too bright, not too dramatic, just gently undecided. We used to share a table by the plants in the back, arguing about which city we'd rather get lost in someday. You wanted somewhere coastal with salt on the air. I wanted tall libraries and bookstores on every block. Now your chair is taken by a stranger with red headphones, their laptop covered in stickers I can't quite read. I wonder if they're writing something brave or just emails, if they know they're sitting in a seat full of ghosts. The barista brings my drink with a small practice smile. The cup leaves a pale ring of warmth on the wooden table. Sugar into the coffee just to watch it disappear. Tiny storm clouds twisting under the thin milky surface. It reminds me of how we handled uncomfortable questions. Swirl distracts, we'd never really let them settle. We were good at making each other feel better for a moment, and bad at building something that could last through every season. Up and see the sky reflected in the window. City wires cutting across like messy drawn lines. Pigeons balance on them, casual tightrope walkers of November. People hurry below holding umbrellas like small moving constellations. It hits me that this world will be this beautiful with or without us, that my story keeps going even when our chapter has ended. I take a slow sip and let the heat press against my lips, breathing in the roasted, slightly bitter comfort. I don't need dramatic closure or a perfectly framed goodbye, just days like this where I remember you without drowning, where your name is a soft echo and not a sharp ache, where I can sit in our old spot and feel mostly like myself. The music changes to a song we once overplayed in spring, but it sounds different now, stretched by all that's happened. I'm not alone, finish my coffee and stand up carefully, leaving the chair straight, the napkin folded, the cup empty. Outside, the city sky waits with its quiet, great patience. I step into it, steam still clinging faintly to my clothes. The cinema carpet smells like popcorn and old cola. Posters line the hallway with faces I don't recognize yet. Couples and friends shuffle past me in soft conversations. Tickets crumpled in their hands like tiny paper promises. I buy one seat in the middle row out of habit. For a moment I almost say two, your number's still in my mouth. We used to turn movie night into our little religion, sneaking snacks in oversized jackets, laughing at the security signs. You always chose the seat slightly off-center to the left, claiming the sound was better there for the big emotional scenes. I pretended to care about the plot, but watched you instead, counting the times you smiled or wiped your eyes in the dark. Now I take that same row but sit on the opposite side, leaving your old spot empty like an invisible memorial. The lights dim slowly, people settle into their rustling silence. Trailers flash by, advertising stories of strangers and their problems. When the main feature starts, I realize I'm barely paying attention. The screen is huge, but my thoughts keep shrinking back to us. There's a moment in the film when the characters finally talk after 2 hours of avoiding every difficult conversation. The whole theater holds its breath during the confession. I think about how we never quite managed to do that. We joked, we hinted, we changed the subject skillfully until our silence grew heavier than any argument. Halfway through I stand up quietly and slip down the aisle, murmuring excuse me as I pass knees and popcorn buckets. The screen glows behind me, throwing shadows down the steps outside the lobby. Feels strangely bright and a little hollow. I stare at the unused half of my drink for a second, then toss it away like a small unfinished scene. On the walk home, city lights replace the movie's colors. I realize I don't actually miss sitting beside you in the dark. I miss believing that someone could read my mind like subtitles, understand every worried glance and restless gesture for what it meant. But that's a fantasy, not a fair expectation of love. Real connection needs words, not just shared armrest senses. I'll still choose the middle, but maybe I'll bring a friend who knows the real me. Someone I can whisper to when the plot gets confusing. Someone who isn't afraid to say what they actually feel. That empty movie seat will belong to the past, not to you. Just another prop in a story that has finally rolled its credits. Morning arrives without asking if I'm ready. A pale blue light slides gently across the ceiling. I pull the curtains back and see the rooftop shining. Thin white frost stitched over tiles like fragile embroidery. The whole block looks quieter, as if holding its breath. Even the birds take their time before disturbing the stillness. Your old messages sleep in a folder on my phone. I tell myself I will delete them when snow falls, as if the sky needs more space to carry its weight, as if my heart will feel lighter with fewer words stored. But I scroll anyway, reading jokes we barely laughed at, photos where our faces were trying to decide the future. We used to meet at the corner bakery every Thursday, steam rising from the ovens, your cheeks red from the cold. You always ordered something too sweet, sugar on your lips. I pretended not to stare, pretending to be casual. Outside, our breath tangled in the air like small white secrets. I thought we had all the time in the world to be unsure. Now the bakery has changed its sign and playlist. Different songs, different people, same tired morning rush. When I pass by, I count of shivering, capable of warming up again. Think of you first. I'll just notice how soft the world looks for a moment. Maybe I'll text a friend, maybe I'll make fresh plans, maybe I'll step outside without checking old conversations. Until then, this view is my gentle temporary teacher, showing me how everything can look cold. Traffic fades into a distant silver, whispered at night. November leans against my window like an old familiar friend. Steam from my tea curls upward, drawing halos in the air. I trace your name in the fog before it slowly disappears. There is snow waiting somewhere above these heavy clouds. I can feel it in the way the streetlights softly hum. Every red light stretches out like an unfinished sentence. Every passing bus carries strangers with private silent storms. I remember walking down your street last winter evening. You told me nothing lasts, but your eyes said please stay. Our words made tiny fires on the frozen conversation. Breath turned invisible, secrets drifting between us like smoke. We talked about the cities we would someday grow into, apartments with uneven floors, plants we forget to water, records spinning quietly while we fall asleep on the couch. I believed every unfinished promise because it felt like music. Tonight I pull on my coat and follow old footsteps back toward the place where your building meets the sky. The air smells like distant snow and fried food from stalls, a mix of comfort and ache that feels exactly like us. Your street appears familiar but slightly rearranged. New store signs glowing where dark windows used to be. It's the first snow on your street, fine as powdered glass, falling in secret, careful whispers on parked cars and mailboxes. The pavement softens under thin, uncertain white, like it's trying on a new version of itself for a night. I walk by your door, but do not ring the bell. My hands stay in my pockets, holding nothing but warmth and keys. Third floor curtains are drawn, no silhouettes at the window. I wonder who lives there now, watering plants we forgot. Maybe they string fairy lights across the same balcony. Maybe they never hear the echo of our old arguments. The building doesn't seem to miss us, and that's okay. Bricks and stairwells are good at moving on without announcements. Footprints appear behind me as I keep walking slowly, proof that I was here even if nobody saw me pass. The snow fills them in as soon as I move ahead, softly editing my presence from this quiet little scene. It feels strangely kind, this gentle erasing, as if the night is telling me I'm allowed to start again. We were never really ready for the weight of growing up. You took flights and I took feelings heavy in unequal suitcases. Airports and unanswered messages drew lines we couldn't cross. I tried to measure love in late night calls and long paragraphs, but someday pictures are bigger than geography and time zones. Some stories end even when both people still care. I stop at the corner where the streetlight buzzes faintly. Snowflakes swirl in its halo like tiny spinning truths. I forgive us there quietly with no witnesses. Forgive the time and the fear, the careless little wounds. Forgive myself for holding on too long to what felt safe. Forgive you for leaving when you needed to be someone new. So I send this little thought into the icy sky. May you find warm rooms, gentle friends, and late morning sleeps. May every storm that reaches you arrive a little softer. And if my name ever brushes the edge of your memory, let it feel like snowfall outside a safe and quiet house. Something you watch for a moment through the window, smiling then reads. In a dusty box above my wardrobe, there's a cardboard smell left over from last New Year's Eve on your friend's rooftop. We bought cheap fireworks that came with uncertain instructions. Laughed as we tried to light them with freezing fingers. The city beneath us was a field of flickering windows, counting down with strangers we would never actually meet. You raised your hands when the first burst broke the dark colors, painting your cheeks in temporary bright courage. You shouted over the noise, the next year would be different, that we'd be braver, kinder, more honest with ourselves. I nodded, tasting smoke and sweet sparkling drink, believing that promises made under explosions meant something sacred. November hangs heavy around the edges of the calendar. The year is almost finished and we barely speak at all. Yet I keep finding tiny paper scraps in jacket pockets, ashes from those fireworks we set off without thinking. They fall to the floor like quiet, accusing confetti, reminding me of all the sentences we left incomplete. We didn't end with screaming or door slamming or blame, just a slow unraveling of plans and late replies. A weekend we cancelled and never tried to reschedule. A joke that didn't land, a hug that lasted shorter, until one morning we woke up in separate futures. Our chat history frozen at some unremarkable moment. I like to think you're somewhere watching fireworks with new people, letting the sky break open above your changed heartbeat. Maybe you still close your eyes at the loudest parts. Maybe you still reach for someone's hand in the dark. I hope they squeeze back with a confidence I never had. I hope the smoke curls upward, carrying away your old doubts. Sometimes I replay that rooftop in my mind in slow motion, not to torture myself, but to understand where we were. Two slightly scared people trying to script a better year. Use their sparks and noise to cover how fragile our hopes were. We were not wrong to dream, just clumsy in the execution. Human in our timing, imperfect in our follow-through. Tonight I light a small candle by my bedroom window, that cardboard memory. I'll build new wishes from quieter, longer burning light. There is one stubborn leaf still hanging in the wind, clinging to a wire that cuts across my street. All its friends have already made their exit, carpet in the sidewalks and crumpled gold and rust. But this one trembles and refuses to drop, a tiny silhouette against a washed out November sky. I watch it from the tram window, and my canoe face reflected faintly over the moving city behind it. For some reason I feel a strange loyalty to its struggle, like if it can hold on, maybe I can too. Even though I know that falling is natural, not failure, that every season needs a way to end itself. We were both that leaf in different ways. Weren't we afraid to admit that gravity had already decided for us? Still scheduling little meetings, still sending sleepy good mornings, even when our conversations felt like reruns of old episodes. We kept pretending the branch was strong enough to last, ignoring the creaks and cracks at the edges of our patience. The day you finally said we should stop trying so hard, I felt the ground tilt for a second under my feet. Not a dramatic collapse, just a quiet rearranging, like furniture being moved in an apartment upstairs. The noise traveled through the walls of my chest. I sat down, listened, and didn't know what to say. Now I pass that same wire nearly every afternoon. Sometimes the leaf is still there, braver than logic. Sometimes I'm sure it's gone, only to spot it again, bent darker but somehow still attached to its thin lifeline. I wonder what moment will finally loosen its grip, what gust of wind will convince it to trust the air. Maybe that's what I'm waiting for without admitting it, a gust of change that doesn't ask my permission. A new friend, a new project, a sudden move, something that lifts me from the familiar branch of our history and lets me spin freely through the sky for a while, not knowing where I'll land but willing to find out. One evening the tram passes and the wire is empty, no small rust-colored flag shaking in resistance, just bare lines stretching across the fading light. I press my forehead to the glass and smile a little. Somewhere below that leaf has already joined the others, part of the soft, messy pattern on the ground of this city. I step off at my stop, feeling strangely lighter, like something unspoken finally completed its journey. I don't need to know exactly when I let go of you, only that I'm no longer hanging by a thread of what ifs. The season is changing as it always was meant to, and this time I'm ready to walk through it with open hands. The schedule at the stop says 3 more minutes, but the bus is never on us when the air turns cold. I shove my headphones deeper into my ears and wait, watching my breath drift upward like speech bubbles with no words. The asphalt shines with a thin, tired layer of rain. Everything smells like wet concrete and distant street food. This was our meeting point for so many ordinary nights. After class, after work, after we ran from other plans, you would arrive with your hoodie half unzipped and crooked, holding two convenience store coffees like flimsy trophies. We talk about professors, bosses, and shows we were binging, pretending we weren't hoping for something more permanent. Now I stand alone under the same flickering sign. The ads behind the glass have changed their slogans, but the metal bench still remembers the shape of us. I sit on the far left, where you used to throw your bag and stare down the road that never stops, bringing strangers, each face briefly lit by the oncoming headline lights. I scroll through music trying to find a neutral song, something that doesn't belong to you or what we were. But every melody seems to open a forgotten window, a laugh we shared, a fight we didn't finish properly. At night the bus was late and we decided to walk instead, turning a small inconvenience into our own private movie scene. The bus finally appears, a slow-moving rectangle of light, brakes hissing like a tired dragon when it reaches the stop. I step inside and tap my card with automatic motion. The driver barely looks up, the world keeps moving forward. I grab the overhead strap and sway with the engine sigh, watching raindrops race each other across the long side windows as the city slips by in blurred neon and shadows. I realize I'm not really waiting for you anymore. I'm just used to associating this place with your arrival. Habit is a stubborn, loyal kind of ghost, but even ghosts get tired of haunting the same hallway. Eventually they step out into the night and fade. Tonight I decide that this route belongs to me again. A line drawn through the map of my everyday life. I ride past our old stop and don't press the bell, letting the bus carry me somewhere slightly unfamiliar, where new streets smell like possibilities instead of old memories, where November is not about who left but about where I'm going. November didn't knock this year, it just slipped in, wrapped in a denim jacket and the smell of rain. One morning the air felt heavier on my shoulders, and the trees outside my window had less to say. I pulled on the first sweater I could find and realized it still carried your cologne in the threads. The month writes itself in shades of blue everywhere. Dark navy skies at 5 in the afternoon. Soft teal glow from my phone at midnight. Faded jeans draped over the back of a broken chair. I move through it all like I'm underwater, taking slow, careful steps, learning a new kind of gravity. We were always different colors trying to mix. You burn bright yellow, quick to laugh and decide. I kept my feelings folded into quiet, cool palettes, thinking that calm and control, that softness was strength. Sometimes we blended into something beautiful and strange. Sometimes we just turned into a murky, confused green. When you left, it wasn't a storm or a crash, just a gentle closing of doors, one after the other. A text, and hours later than usual, a call postponed, a weekend gone without even a lazy hello. I felt the absence like a draft under the door, not loud but constant, impossible to ignore. Now November sits across from me at the kitchen table, stirring its tea, watching me rearrange my thoughts. thoughts. I make small lists on the backs of envelopes, groceries, deadlines, shows I wanna watch alone. Healing turns out to be a series of tiny tasks, not a dramatic montage or a sudden revelation. Outside, someone on the next balcony tunes a guitar. A single chord rings out clear against the cool air. Then another, then the beginnings of a lonely song. I lean on the windowsill, letting the music float in. No one is singing about us exactly, but it's close, close enough to remind me that I am not the only one learning. November comes in blue, but not all blues are tragic. Some are the color of calm water on a quiet morning. Some are the denim jacket you wear on your best days. Some are the ink that writes your next brave sentence. I wrap these thoughts around me like an invisible coat. Step outside, breathe deep, and let the colors soften around the edges. City glow is trembling on the river this evening. November brushes past my window like a half-remembered song. I rest my forehead on the cold and quiet glass, watching strangers cross the bridge with hurried little steps. Their faces blur into the lights and disappear again. I wonder if anyone else is secretly missing someone tonight. On the table there is a notebook I never finished, filled with half-written lyrics and wandering questions. Your name hides between the margins like a secret chord. Sometimes I trace it with a pen and then erase it, as if I could rewrite the way we slowly fell apart, as if ink could fix what timing never learned to hold. You once said the city feels softer in November, like even the traffic knows how tired we all are. We walked home under street lamps that flickered like nerves, sharing earbuds, taking turns, choosing songs for each other. You kept skipping anything that sounded like goodbye. I pretended not to notice and just watched your profile in the light. Tonight I play those same songs, but I listen differently. I hear the lines where we were almost honest, the parts where we laughed instead of telling the truth, the melodies that carried us over awkward silences. Now the room is full of echoes that only I can hear. Every chorus lands gently on my chest and then dissolves. How do I don't want you back, not really, not completely. I just miss the version of myself that held your hand, the one who believed that love alone could bend the calendar and make hard seasons feel like soft and endless weekends. Outside, a taxi splashes through a shallow silver puddle. Inside, I promise myself I'll open the window a little wider tomorrow. If you ever pass this building on a quiet November night, and see a single yellow square of light above the river. Know that someone is sitting there learning how to let go, not with anger, not with bitterness, just a slow kind release. I will always be grateful that for a while we were real, even if now you are only a reflection on this November window light. The rain taps secret numbers on my window tonight. Little code of patience written in uneven drops. Streetlights stretch across the wet road like melted gold. Cars move slowly, careful not to break the fragile shine. Somewhere in the distance, a siren rises and falls. Then the city settles back into its sleepy rhythm. My phone screen lights the room with a familiar blue. Messages from group chats, unread emails, small obligations. But your name is a quiet absence between notifications. A space my eyes still search for without permission. I flip the phone face down, then flip it back again. Like that might change anything inside the digital universe. When the clock slides softly into 11:11, I hesitate, staring at the numbers like a doorway. I used to make wishes for us without saying them. Little dreams about trips we never had the courage to book. Apartments we would decorate with thrifted picture frames. Mornings where we'd argue gently over which song to play first. Tonight my wish is different and harder to phrase. I don't want your footsteps to return to my hallway. I don't want to reassemble what we carefully dismantled. I simply want the echo of your name to hurt less, to feel like a chapter I can reread without shaking, to remember you and still feel fully present in my own life. The rain grows heavier, like someone turned up the volume. It drums on the roof, races down the glass, fills the gutters. I imagine every drop carrying away another unfinished sentence. All the things we almost said and then swallowed quietly. All the misunderstandings we were too tired to untangle. November has a way of washing out the sharpest colors. I turn off the lights and let the room become a shadow, listening to the rain play a patient, endless rhythm. I breathe in slow, counting to 4, just like we learned when anxiety used to sit between us on the couch. I whisper a thank you into the darkness for what we had. Then another thank you for the space I have now. It's still 11:11 when I finally close my eyes. The numbers glowing softly like a tiny open door. I step through with bare feet, not knowing the destination, only knowing that I'm allowed to walk without looking back. Tomorrow the streets will shine with clean November air, and I will stand it a little lighter, a little more mine. lit by a single tile lamp tonight. The bulb hums softly like it has something to confess. Dust floats lazily in the beam like tiny drifting planets. The floor is a map of socks, books and half-folded clothes. I press play on a playlist that feels like warm water, and let the first gentle chord spill into the silence. The wall opposite turns into a faded, uneven mirror. My shadow stretches out, taller and calmer than I feel. It follows every uncertain move I make across the floor, a loyal echo that never rolls its eyes or turns away. I reach out a hand just to see what happens, and there it is, meeting me every single time. We used to save this playlist for nights together, lying on the bed, sharing one pillow, sharing entire secrets. You said the slow songs made the room feel bigger, like they opened doors we couldn't see in the daytime. I believed you, because everything felt possible then. Even the future, even the healing we hadn't started yet. Now the same songs feel like letters addressed only to me. They talk about staying, leaving, growing, forgiving. I sway back and forth without thinking of choreography, just letting my body translate the lyrics in a movement. My feet slide in clumsy circles on the wooden floor, but my shadow still looks oddly graceful on the wall. I spin slowly, arms wrapped around an invisible shape, pretending for a second that I am the one I needed. The friend who doesn't rush me, the lover who listens, the parent who says it's okay to be a little broken, the version of myself that doesn't apologize for existing. All of them gather loosely in the outline of this shadow. There's a point in the song where the singer whispers something about learning to love what you've survived. I feel my chest tighten and loosen at the same time, like the windows in my ribs are opening just a crack, enough for a small November breeze to pass through, carrying the smell of rain and distant traffic and freedom. By the time the playlist reaches its last gentle track, I'm breathing easier, cheeks warm, eyes a little wet. The room looks exactly the same, but feels different somehow. Less like a place I'm stuck in, more like a small safe planet. I bow to my shadow in an exaggerated, dramatic gesture. It bows back, loyal and wordless and perfectly in sync. I switch off the lamp and the shadow disappears, but the sense of company lingers in the dark around me. I slide into bed not feeling as lonely as before, knowing that when daylight returns, so will that quiet partner, and we'll keep practicing this imperfect, patient, slow dance until the day I can do it in the mirror of my own heart. I wrap my long scarf around my neck twice. The fabric smells like laundry soap and old perfume. Outside, November has left small puddles on the stairs, the kind that catch the sky and keep it for a moment. I step over them carefully like they my breath I take comes out as a pale white ghost. My hands are always colder than they should be. You used to laugh and fold them into your pockets, saying you charge them like phones until they worked again. I pretended to complain, but secretly loved the ritual. Now my fingers hide alone in the folds of my coat, trying to remember how warm felt when it arrived uninvited. The park near my place is almost empty tonight. Just a couple sharing earphones on a quiet bench, and an old man tossing crumbs to invisible birds. Leaves cling to the past in messy golden constellations. I follow them like they're spelling out gentle directions, leading me toward a version of myself that hurts a little less. We were never good at fighting, but great at avoiding, pushing the hard talks into later than later again. Filling the silence with memes and playlists and takeout boxes. November became the month of ignoring what we both knew, that love isn't always enough to fix mismatched futures, that wanting each other and wanting ourselves can collide. We were never good at fighting, but great at avoiding, pushing the hard talks into later than later again. Filling the silence with memes and playlists and takeout boxes. November became the month of ignoring what we both knew, that love isn't always enough to fix mismatched futures, that wanting each other and wanting ourselves can collide. I stop by the river where the city lights shiver. Boats move slowly, dragging reflections through the water. I take off one glove and let the air sting my skin, just to prove I can feel something that isn't you. The scarf hugs my neck like a small brave promise, that I can hold myself together even when I feel undone. If we ever meet again on some unexpected corner, I hope I can smile without my chest collapsing. I hope I can ask how you've been and mean it, without counting the ways we didn't work in my head. By then my hands will know how to stay warm alone, and this scarf will just be a scarf, not armor. For now I walk home through a soft and restless breeze, keys cold in my palm, heart beating a slower rhythm. I hang the scarf by the door like a quiet guardian, boil water for tea, open the window just a crack. November breeze into the room, cool but not cruel. My hands are still cold, but they are finally my own.